Amidst the glowing Christmas cheer, inside a modest coffee shop, a lonely billionaire froze at the counter, realizing he had left both his wallet and phone behind. Seeing he couldn't pay the cashier turned cruel, scolding him loudly enough to silence the room, just as shame threatened to consume him. A black woman holding her sweet little girl's hand stepped forward. She softly placed a $5 bill on the counter and whispered, "No one should be left alone on Christmas." Little did she know that simple act of grace would ignite a miracle that changed their lives forever. Before we dive deeper into this story, let us know where you're watching from. And don't forget to subscribe for more heartwarming stories every day. The thing about being worth $5 billion is that you stop carrying cash. Why would you? Everything's on black cards handled by assistants or just taken care of? Which is exactly why Ethan Cole was standing in a dingy diner at 11 p.m. on Christmas Eve, staring at a $3 coffee bill like it was written in hieroglyphics. But let's back up. 30 minutes earlier, Ethan had been standing in his penthouse, $80 million of glass and steel suspended above Manhattan like a middle finger to gravity. The view was insane. Central Park stretched out below, dusted with snow that looked fake under the streetlights. Inside, everything was temperature-controlled, perfectly silent, aggressively beige. Minimalist, his interior designer had called it. Sterile, his therapist had suggested before Ethan fired him. He was drinking whiskey. The expensive kind. 50 years old, older than he was. The bottle cost more than most people's cars, and it tasted like regret with a hint of oak. His phone buzzed. Again. Vertu, of course, custom-made, 15 grand. It had been going off all night. Merry Christmas from the board, quarterly projections from Tokyo, a passive-aggressive text from his VP about the merger timeline. Ethan silenced it without reading. The penthouse was so quiet he could hear his own heartbeat. That's when the walls started closing in. He'd felt this before, that suffocating pressure in his chest, like his ribs were suddenly 2 sizes too small. His therapist, the one before the one he'd fired, had called it a panic response. Ethan called it Tuesday. The fire had been 20 years ago. He'd been 15 home from boarding school for the holidays. His parents had been hosting their annual Christmas party champagne caviar 200 of their closest friends. Ethan had snuck out to meet a girl. When he came back, the house was an inferno. They'd told him later that an electrical short in the antique chandelier had sparked it. His parents died in their bedroom, probably asleep, probably didn't feel anything. Probably. Ethan had spent the last 20 years making sure he'd never feel helpless again. He'd built NovaCorp from his dorm room, turned it into a tech empire, surrounded himself with steel and glass and money, so much money that nothing could ever hurt him. Except here he was, alone, in a tower he owned, on Christmas. "Screw this," he muttered. He grabbed a hoodie, gray, expensive but deliberately non-branded, and pulled it over his silk pajama shirt. Didn't bother changing, didn't grab his wallet, didn't even think about it. He just needed air, needed to move, needed to be anywhere but here. The elevator ride down felt like descending into normalcy. By the time he hit the street, he was just another guy in a hoodie, hands shoved in his pockets, walking nowhere in particular. That's how he ended up at the Copper Kettle. It wasn't the kind of place Ethan Cole went. Hell, it wasn't the kind of place anyone went unless they were desperate or broke or both. Cracked vinyl booths, fluorescent lights humming like dying insects, a smell that was 50% grease and 50% broken dreams. Perfect. He slid into a booth by the window and stared at the laminated menu like it contained the secrets of the universe. A waitress appeared, Donna, according to her name tag. She looked about 60, tired in a way that went bone deep. "Coffee," Ethan said. "Black." She didn't write it down, just walked away. 3 minutes later, she returned with a mug that had a chip in the rim and coffee that looked like it had been brewed during the Reagan administration. Ethan didn't care. It was warm. It was something to do with his hands. He sat there for 20 minutes watching Christmas lights blink across the street, watching normal people do normal things. A couple arguing over cab fare, a guy in a Santa suit smoking a cigarette, real life messy and loud and completely foreign. Then Donna reappeared with a slip of paper. $3. Ethan reached for his wallet that was sitting on his nightstand, 60 floors up. Next to his phone, his keys, and apparently his common sense. His hand froze halfway to his pocket. He patted himself down, hoodie, pajama pants, nothing. Not a credit card, not a dollar, not even loose change. He looked up at Donna. "I don't have my wallet." Her expression could have curdled milk. "You ordered coffee without money." "I didn't mean to. I forgot." "Right." She crossed her arms. "Listen, buddy, I don't care if you're homeless or just stupid, but you don't get to waste my time. Either pay or I'm calling the cops." Ethan Cole, $5 billion, featured on the cover of Forbes 17 times. Couldn't pay for a $3 cup of coffee. The universe had a sick sense of humor. "I can pay," he said quickly, hating how desperate he sounded. "I just need to go back and get—" "Sure you will." Donna's voice dripped sarcasm. "And I'm the Queen of England." Heat crawled up Ethan's neck. Other customers were starting to stare. An old man in the corner booth smirked. Two teenagers by the counter pulled out their phones. This was about to become a viral video. Billionaire CEO can't afford coffee. His board would lose their minds. "Look," Ethan started, but a voice interrupted him. "I've got it." He turned. A woman stood beside his booth, early 30s, dark skin, wearing scrubs with cartoon reindeer on them. She looked exhausted, the kind of tired that comes from double shifts and life hitting you repeatedly in the face. But her eyes were kind. She placed a $5 bill on the table before Ethan could protest. "It's Christmas," she said to Donna, not to him. "Nobody should get hassled over coffee." Donna snatched the bill, gave Ethan one last disgusted look, and walked away. The woman started to leave too, but Ethan found his voice. "Wait, I can pay you back. Don't worry about it." She smiled, and it transformed her whole face. "Seriously. Merry Christmas." "Mommy." A small voice piped up from the booth behind him. "Did you help that man?" Ethan turned and saw her, a little girl, maybe 6 years old, with dark curly hair pulled into two puffs. She was coloring on a napkin, her legs swinging under the table, light-up sneakers blinking red and green. "Yeah, baby," the woman said. "Just being neighborly." The girl studied Ethan with unsettling intensity. Kids always did that, looked right through you, like they had X-ray vision for bullshit. "You look really sad," she announced. "Lily!" The woman, her mother, looked mortified. "We don't say that to people." "But it's true," Lily insisted. She tilted her head. "Are you sad because it's Christmas and you're all alone?" The question hit Ethan like a physical blow. He opened his mouth, but nothing came out. "Lily, apologize right now," her mother said. "It's okay," Ethan managed. "She's not wrong." An awkward silence stretched between them. Lily continued staring at him with those huge brown eyes. Her mother shifted her weight, clearly wanting to escape this train wreck of a conversation. Then Lily made a decision. "Do you want to come to our house for cookies Mom made them? And they're really good. We have extra because she made too many, and now they're everywhere." "Lily, what you said we should share." Lily looked at her mother, then back at Ethan. "You should come. Nobody should be alone on Christmas. That's what Mom always says." Ethan looked at the woman, this stranger who just paid for his coffee, whose daughter was now inviting him into their home. Every instinct screamed that this was insane. He was Ethan Cole. He had a penthouse waiting. He had a life to get back to. But that life was empty. And this little girl was looking at him like he mattered. "I don't want to impose," he said quietly. The woman, he still didn't know her name, sighed. But when she looked at her daughter's hopeful face, something softened in her expression. "It's just cookies," she said finally. "And honestly, our place is pretty small, kind of a mess. And the heat's been acting up, so I can't promise it'll be comfortable." "I don't need comfortable," Ethan said. And God, he meant it. She studied him for a long moment, and he wondered what she saw. Not a billionaire, that's for sure. Just some sad guy in a hoodie who couldn't pay for his own coffee. "Sarah," she said, extending her hand. "And this is Lily." "Ethan." He shook her hand. Her grip was firm, a nurse's handshake. "Well, Ethan," Sarah said, gathering her bag and helping Lily into her coat. "Hope you like snickerdoodles." As they walked out into the cold December night, Ethan glanced back at the copper kettle. Through the window, he could see Donna wiping down tables, the old man still nursing his coffee, those teenagers laughing at their phones. His penthouse was 60 blocks north. His wallet, his phone, his entire identity. But he turned south, following a stranger and her daughter towards something he couldn't name. For the first time in 20 years, Ethan Cole had absolutely no idea what he was doing. It felt like freedom. Sarah's apartment was in a building that had probably been considered modern around the time Nixon resigned. The elevator made sounds that suggested it was powered by hamsters on wheels, and the hallway smelled like someone's grandmother's potpourri mixed with decades of cooking odors. Home sweet home, Sarah said, unlocking a door that required 3 different keys. Fair warning, it's not much. Ethan stepped inside and stopped. The apartment was tiny. Living room kitchenette, and what he assumed was a bedroom down a short hallway, all crammed into maybe 600 square feet. The furniture was old, but clean, mismatched pieces that looked like they'd been collected from thrift stores and curb alerts. A small Christmas tree stood in the corner, decorated with paper ornaments and popcorn strings. But it was warm. Not temperature-wise, Sarah had been right about the heating, but in every other way that mattered. "Sorry about the cold," Sarah said, adjusting the thermostat with the defeated air of someone who'd already called maintenance 12 times. "Building's supposed to fix the central heating after New Year's." "That's what they said last year, too." "It's fine," Ethan said, and bizarrely it was. Lily had already kicked off her light-up shoes and was dragging a plastic bin from under the tree. "Mom, can we show Mr. Ethan, the ornaments I made?" "Just Ethan is fine," he said quickly. "Lily, let the man breathe," Sarah called from the kitchen, "and wash your hands before you touch those cookies." Ethan found himself on a couch that had seen better decades, watching Lily narrate the history of every paper ornament like they were priceless artifacts. This one was from kindergarten. This one had too much glitter, and her teacher said she broke the glitter bottle, but it was an accident. This one was supposed to be an angel, but looked more like a blob with wings. "You made all of these?" Ethan asked. "Yep." Lily beamed with pride. "Mom says we can't afford the fancy ones from the store, but these are better because they have love in them." Something twisted in Ethan's chest. His childhood Christmases had featured 20-foot trees decorated by professionals, every ornament matching every light, placed with geometric precision. He couldn't remember his mother ever letting him touch them. "Your mom's right," he said. "These are definitely better." Sarah emerged from the kitchen carrying a plate of cookies and 3 mismatched mugs. "Hot chocolate protocol," she announced. "Lily, you want to teach Ethan the rules." Lily's face lit up like she'd been asked to present at the UN. She scrambled onto the couch next to Ethan, suddenly very serious. "Okay, so first you have to put exactly 3 marshmallows in. Not 2, not 4. 3. That's the perfect number." 3, Ethan repeated solemnly. "Got it. Then you have to wait exactly 1 minute for them to get melty. If you drink it too fast, you don't get the full marshmallow experience." "The full marshmallow experience," Ethan echoed, fighting a smile. "And then this is the most important part. You have to make a wish before the first sip. It doesn't have to be out loud, but it has to be real. No fake wishes." "How do you know if a wish is fake?" Ethan asked. Lily looked at him like he'd asked why the sky was blue. "You just know. Like if you wish for something you don't really want, that's fake. You have to wish for something that matters." Ethan accepted his mug, chipped with a faded "World's Best Mom" printed on the side, and carefully counted 3 marshmallows. Sarah sat in the armchair across from them, tucking her feet under her, watching her daughter with an expression that Ethan recognized. Love mixed with exhaustion, mixed with the fierce determination of someone fighting a war on too many fronts. "So," Sarah said after a moment, "you gonna tell us why you were sitting alone in a diner on Christmas Eve, or is that too personal?" Ethan stared into his hot chocolate. The marshmallows were melting, turning the surface creamy. "I just needed to get out." "From where?" "My apartment." It wasn't technically a lie. "Must be some apartment if you'd rather be at the Copper Kettle," Sarah said dryly. "That place is basically where hope goes to die." "Mom," Lily gasped, "that's mean." "It's accurate, baby." Ethan surprised himself by laughing. "No, she's right. It's terrible. But sometimes terrible is better than empty." Sarah's expression shifted. She got it. He could see it in her eyes, that recognition of someone else who understood loneliness. "Well," she said quietly, "you're not alone tonight." They sat in silence for a moment, sipping hot chocolate. Lily announced that her wish was for a puppy, even though she knew they couldn't have one because the building didn't allow pets, but she wished for it anyway because maybe the rules will change. "What did you wish for, Mom?" Lily asked. Sarah smiled, but Ethan saw the sadness underneath it. "I wished for you to always be this happy." "That's a good wish," Lily declared. Then she turned to Ethan. "What about you?" Ethan looked at them, this woman and her daughter sharing their home and their traditions with a complete stranger. He thought about his penthouse, his empire, his carefully constructed fortress of wealth and isolation. "I wished," he said slowly, "that I could remember what this feels like." What feels like? Lily asked, being part of something. Sarah's eyes met his across the coffee table and something passed between them. Understanding, maybe. Or recognition. Lily, oblivious to the weight of the moment, grabbed a cookie. These are snickerdoodles, their mom's specialty. She makes them every Christmas, and last year she made so many that we had to give some to all the neighbors, and Mr. Peterson from 4B said they were better than his dead wife's, which was super sad, but also a compliment. Lily, Sarah laughed despite herself. We don't tell people that story. Why not? It's true. Ethan took a cookie. It was slightly burnt on the bottom, uneven in shape, nothing like the perfect pastries his personal chef made. He bit into it. It was the best thing he'd ever tasted. These are incredible, he said, and meant it. Sarah ducked her head, embarrassed. They're just cookies. No, Ethan said firmly. They're perfect. As the night wore on, Lily showed him her coloring books, her collection of rocks from the park. This one looks like a potato, but it's special. And her most prized possession, a stuffed unicorn named Sparkles, who was missing an ear and had definitely seen better days. Sparkles has been with me forever, Lily explained, hugging the unicorn tight. Since I was a baby. Mom says my dad gave it to me. The temperature in the room shifted. Sarah stood abruptly. Lily, it's getting late. You should probably... Mom always gets sad when I talk about Daddy, Lily said matter-of-factly to Ethan. He died when I was 3. I don't really remember him, but Mom says he was really good at making people laugh. Ethan looked at Sarah, who was standing with her back to them, gripping the edge of the kitchen counter. I'm sorry, he said quietly. Sarah turned around and her eyes were bright but fierce. Don't be. We're doing fine. We're doing more than fine. But Ethan could see the medical bills stacked on the counter, the eviction notice peeking out from under a magnet on the refrigerator marked Final, the wear on Sarah's scrubs, the way her phone screen was cracked, the fact that their Christmas dinner was probably going to be whatever she could stretch from her pantry. They weren't fine. They were drowning. And Sarah was fighting like hell to make sure her daughter never knew it. Do you have family? Ethan asked. Anyone who can help? Sarah's laugh was sharp. My parents disowned me when I married Marcus. He was black, and they made their choice. Haven't spoken to them in 8 years, she shrugged, and Marcus's family is in Georgia struggling themselves. We're on our own, but we're okay. We've got each other. Lily yawned a huge jaw-cracking yawn that she tried to hide behind Sparkles. Bedtime, little miss, Sarah said gently. But Ethan just got here, Lily protested. Ethan can stay a little longer, Sarah said, then glanced at him. If he wants to. I want to, Ethan said immediately. After Lily was tucked into bed, a process that involved 3 stories, 2 glasses of water, and 1 emergency trip to the bathroom, Sarah returned to the living room. She changed out of her scrubs into sweatpants and an oversized t-shirt that said, Nurses call the shots. Sorry, she said, collapsing into the armchair. She's usually asleep by 9, but Christmas has her all wound up. She's amazing, Ethan said. You're raising an amazing kid. Sarah's eyes went suspiciously shiny. Yes, she is. She was quiet for a moment. Her dad would have loved to see who she's becoming. He was so excited when we found out we were having a girl. Said he was going to teach her how to change a tire and throw a punch and never take shit from anyone. What happened? Ethan asked gently. Cancer. Pancreatic. By the time they caught it, she shook her head. 6 months from diagnosis to funeral. The medical bills nearly killed us. Actually, they are killing us. I'm still paying them off. That's not fair, Ethan said. No, Sarah agreed. It's not. But life isn't fair. You just keep swimming right. You keep showing up for the people who need you. She looked at him, then really looked at him. So, what's your story, Ethan? And don't tell me you're just some guy. Nobody sits alone in a diner on Christmas Eve unless they're running from something or missing something. Ethan had spent 20 years perfecting his public persona, the ruthless CEO, the visionary entrepreneur, the man who'd turned tragedy into triumph. He had speeches prepared, sound bites ready, a carefully crafted narrative. But sitting in this cramped apartment with its broken heating and paper ornaments, none of that felt right. I lost my parents when I was 15, he said. House fire. I wasn't home. Sarah's hand went to her mouth. Oh my God. I spent the next 20 years making sure I'd never feel that helpless again. I built walls, high ones, and I filled my life with things that couldn't burn, couldn't die, couldn't leave me. He laughed bitterly. Turns out you can own the whole world and still be completely alone. Is that what you want? Sarah asked. To not be alone. I don't know what I want anymore, Ethan admitted. I thought I did. I thought success meant safety. But tonight, sitting in that diner, I realized I couldn't even remember the last time someone did something kind for me without wanting something in return. I don't want anything from you, Sarah said firmly. I know. That was what made it precious. That's why it meant something. They talked for hours. Sarah told him about nursing school, about pulling double shifts at the hospital, about the elderly patient who'd left her a rosary in her will because Sarah had been the only one who'd held her hand at the end. Ethan told her about his first startup, about sleeping in his car, about the moment he'd made his first million and realized it didn't fill the hole inside him. He didn't tell her who he was. Ethan Cole, CEO of Novacorp, stayed 60 floors above them in a penthouse. Here he was, just Ethan, just a guy who forgot his wallet and got lucky enough to meet someone who still believed in kindness. Around 2 a.m., he stood to leave. I should go. You have to work tomorrow. Actually, I'm off through New Year's, Sarah said. Miracle of miracles. Then maybe. Ethan hesitated. Maybe I could come back. Help out around here. I noticed the kitchen faucet drips, and that loose floorboard by the door is a safety hazard. Sarah raised an eyebrow. You fix faucets. I can learn, Ethan said, which was insane. He had people for this. He had people who had people for this. But Sarah smiled. Okay, yeah, Lily would love that. At the door, Ethan paused. Thank you for tonight. You didn't have to. Yes, I did, Sarah interrupted. That's what people do. We help each other. Ethan walked home in the freezing December air, and for the first time in 20 years, he didn't feel cold. Ethan returned to his penthouse at 3 a.m., but he didn't sleep. He sat on his $10,000 couch, still wearing his hoodie that smelled like Sarah's apartment cinnamon and vanilla and life, and stared at the city below. Everything looked different now. Or maybe he was different. At 7 a.m., his phone started ringing. Marcus, his assistant, with the morning briefing. Ethan let it go to voicemail, then his VP of operations, then his PR director, then the head of his legal team. He ignored them all. Instead, he did something he hadn't done in 15 years. He went to a grocery store, not a gourmet market or a specialty shop, but an actual regular grocery store, the kind with harsh fluorescent lights and shopping carts that pulled to the left. He walked the aisles like an anthropologist studying a foreign culture. Pancake mix, eggs, milk, maple syrup, coffee that didn't cost $50 a pound, a bouquet of flowers from the refrigerated section that cost $9.99 and looked slightly wilted. The cashier was a teenager with purple hair and a name tag that said Bex. You need a bag, they asked, already looking bored. Yes, please. That'll be $42.60. Ethan pulled out his black Amex the card with no limit, the one that made salespeople's eyes light up. Bex swiped it without interest, handed him the receipt. Happy holidays. It was the most normal transaction of Ethan's adult life, and it felt revolutionary. He showed up at Sarah's apartment at 9 a.m. with his grocery bags ready to make breakfast. She answered the door in her pajamas, hair wrapped in a silk bonnet, looking confused and adorable. Ethan, what are you? I'm making Christmas breakfast, he announced. As a thank you for last night. Sarah blinked. You don't have to. I want to. Do you even know how to cook? How hard can it be? Famous last words. Turns out pancakes were very hard. Ethan, who'd negotiated billion-dollar mergers and revolutionized cloud computing, could not figure out how to flip a pancake without either launching it across the kitchen or creating something that looked like it had been run over by a truck. You're supposed to wait for the bubbles, Lily shouted from her perch on the counter where she'd stationed herself as chief supervisor. I am waiting for the bubbles. Those aren't bubbles, those are craters. Sarah emerged from the bathroom, took one look at the smoking griddle, and the batter splattered across the backsplash, and burst out laughing. Oh my God, she gasped. You've destroyed my kitchen. I'm creating art, Ethan said defensively, scraping what might generously be called a pancake onto a plate. It was black on one side, raw in the middle, and vaguely pentagon-shaped. That's not art, that's a crime scene, Sarah said, but she was smiling. Lily was cackling, actually cackling, her laugh high and bright and completely uninhibited. Ethan had made Fortune 500 executives nervous with a single look, but this 6-year-old was literally crying with laughter at his pancake skills, and he loved it. He loved every second of it. "Okay, move over, Gordon Ramsay," Sarah said, hip-checking him away from the stove. "Let me show you how it's done." For the next hour, they worked together in the tiny kitchen. Sarah taught him the proper pancake technique while Lily narrated like a sports commentator. And Ethan attempts the flip. Oh no, it's stuck to the ceiling. That's gotta hurt his score. By the time they sat down to eat, Ethan had managed to create exactly 2 pancakes that were actually edible. He was absurdly proud. "These are delicious," Lily declared, drowning hers in syrup. "You're just saying that to be nice," Ethan said. "No, she's saying it because she's 6 and doesn't know any better," Sarah teased. "These are mediocre at best." "I'll take mediocre." Ethan cut into his pancake. "This is the first thing I've cooked in." "Actually, I don't think I've ever cooked anything." Sarah stared at him. "Ever. I had boarding school cafeterias, then college meal plans, then." He trailed off, realizing he'd almost said private chefs. "Then I just ate out a lot." "That's sad," Lily announced. "Lily!" Sarah scolded, but Ethan laughed. "No, she's right. It is sad." After breakfast and the 40-minute cleanup operation required to restore the kitchen to livability, Lily dragged Ethan to the living room for what she called present time. Ethan's stomach sank. He hadn't brought gifts. Why would he? He hadn't known he'd be spending Christmas with them. "I didn't bring anything," he said to Sarah quietly. "I'm sorry, I should have." "Relax," Sarah whispered back. "You made breakfast, or attempted to. That's gift enough." But Lily had other plans. She disappeared into her room and returned carrying Sparkles, the one-eared unicorn. "Ethan," she said, suddenly serious, "I want to give you a present." "Lily, you don't have to." "But I want to." She held out Sparkles. "I want you to have Sparkles." The room went very quiet. "Baby," Sarah said softly, "Sparkles is your special toy. You don't have to give." "I know," Lily interrupted, "but Ethan needs her more than me." "Lily, I can't take your unicorn," Ethan said, his throat suddenly tight. "Ah, yes you can." Lily pushed Sparkles into his hands. The unicorn was worn soft from years of love, the pink fur faded one ear hanging by threads. "You said last night that you wanted to remember what it feels like to be part of something. Sparkles helps me remember that my daddy loved me, even though he's gone. She can help you remember that people care about you too." Ethan looked down at the stuffed unicorn in his hands. This toy was probably worth $5 new. Now it was worth nothing monetarily, but a 6-year-old was giving him her most precious possession because she thought he needed it. He'd never received a more valuable gift in his life. "Lily," he said, and his voice cracked, This is the nicest thing anyone's ever done for me." "You're welcome," Lily said simply, "but you have to take really good care of her, okay? And maybe if you get lonely, you can hug her, and it'll help." Sarah was crying silently, tears streaming down her face. Ethan felt his own eyes burning. "I promise," he managed to say. "I'll take perfect care of her." Lily beamed. "Good. Now can we watch Christmas movies Mom said we can watch 3? The rest of the day blurred into a montage of normalcy that Ethan had never experienced. They watched Elf Home Alone and The Polar Express. They made popcorn in the microwave that burnt on one end and was unpopped on the other. Lily fell asleep halfway through the third movie, sprawled across both of them on the couch. "We should put her to bed," Sarah whispered, but neither of them moved. Lily was warm and solid between them, breathing deeply, completely trusting. Ethan couldn't remember the last time he'd been this still, this present. "She doesn't do this with just anyone," Sarah said quietly. "Give away Sparkles. She must really like you." "I really like her too," Ethan said. "Both of you." Sarah looked at him, and something shifted in her expression. "Ethan, what's your last name?" He froze. This was it, the moment where he'd have to lie or tell the truth and watch everything change. "Does it matter?" he asked instead. "I guess not," Sarah said slowly, "but I realized I invited a stranger into my home, and I don't even know your full name. My mother would be horrified. Well, she's already horrified by most of my life choices, but still." "It's Cole," Ethan said. "Ethan Cole." He watched her face for recognition. Cole, Novacorp, Forbes covers, billionaire CEO. Nothing. Sarah smiled. "Nice to officially meet you, Ethan Cole. I'm Sarah Mitchell, and you've already met the boss." She nodded at Lily. She had no idea. She'd looked at him and seen just Ethan, some lonely guy in a hoodie who couldn't make pancakes. Not his net worth. Not his empire. Just him. It was the most seen and the most invisible he'd ever felt all at once. I should probably get going, Ethan said, even though every cell in his body wanted to stay. Probably. Sarah agreed, but she didn't sound convinced. He stood carefully, trying not to wake Lily. Sarah walked him to the door, hovering in that awkward space between hug and handshake. Thank you for today, Ethan said, for letting me be part of your Christmas. Thank you for the pancake disaster, Sarah replied. It'll be a story Lily tells for years. I'll come back tomorrow, Ethan said. Fix that faucet, if that's okay. More than okay. Sarah paused. You know, for a guy who showed up without a wallet, you're pretty handy to have around. Ethan looked down at sparkles still clutched in his hand. I'm the lucky one. He meant it more than she could possibly know. Ethan spent that night in his penthouse, but he didn't belong there anymore. Everything felt wrong, too big, too cold, too empty. He sat on his bed with sparkles on the nightstand and tried to remember why he'd built this life. Security, control, safety. But he wasn't safe. He was just alone. His phone had 47 missed calls, 89 unread texts, and 23 emails marked urgent. He ignored all of them except one, a text from his assistant Marcus. The Dubai investors are threatening to pull out of the merger if you don't call them by midnight. Please respond. The merger. Right. The one that would add another billion to his portfolio. The one he'd spent 2 years negotiating. It felt like it had happened to someone else. Ethan picked up sparkles, held the worn unicorn close, and for the first time since he was 15 years old, he let himself cry. The next morning, he called Marcus. Thank God, Marcus breathed. Where have you been? We've been trying to reach you for 2 days. The board is losing their minds. Dubai is threatening to walk, and Henderson is spreading rumors that you've had a breakdown. Tell Henderson he's fired, Ethan said calmly. Silence. Then, sir, and tell the board I'll be working remotely for the next week. Dubai can wait. Dubai can't wait. They want a commitment by... Then they can find another company to merge with. Ethan hung up. His phone immediately started ringing again. He turned it off. Then he went shopping. Real shopping. At a hardware store. An hour later, he showed up at Sarah's door with a toolbox, a new faucet supplies to fix the loose floorboard, and absolutely no idea what he was doing. Sarah opened the door in her scrubs. She'd picked up a shift last minute when a coworker called in sick. You actually came back, she said, surprised. I said I would. Yeah, but... She shook her head. Most people say a lot of things. I'm not most people. As soon as the words left his mouth, Ethan realized how arrogant they sounded. I mean, it's okay. I get it. Sarah grabbed her bag. Lily's in her room. I should be back by 6. There's leftovers in the fridge if you guys get hungry. And Ethan. She paused at the door. She really loves having you around. Just don't make promises you can't keep, okay? The door closed behind her and Ethan was alone with a 6-year-old and a toolbox. How hard could it be? Very hard, it turned out. The faucet repair required YouTube tutorials, 3 trips to the hardware store for parts he'd forgotten, and at one point, water spraying everywhere, while Lily screamed with laughter, and Ethan swore in words he immediately apologized for using. It's okay, Lily assured him. Mom says worse when she stubs her toe. Don't tell your mom I swore. I won't, but it'll cost you. Ethan raised an eyebrow. Blackmail, you're 6. I'm 6.5, and I want ice cream. Deal. By the time Sarah came home, the faucet was fixed. Mostly, the floorboard was secure, and Ethan and Lily were sitting on the couch, covered in chocolate ice cream, watching some animated movie about talking cars. Sarah took one look at them and laughed. You have ice cream in your hair. Lily has ice cream in places I didn't know ice cream could reach. Ethan replied. It's in my ear. Lily announced proudly. Bath time, sticky monster, Sarah said, but she was smiling. Say goodnight to Ethan. Good night, Ethan. Lily hugged him hard enough to crack ribs. You're coming back tomorrow, right? If your mom says it's okay. Mom, is it okay? Sarah met Ethan's eyes over Lily's head. Yeah, baby, it's okay. This became the pattern. Ethan showed up every day. He learned to make grilled cheese without burning it. He helped Lily with her reading homework. He fixed things around the apartment, the loose cabinet door, the running toilet, the window that wouldn't quite close. He didn't tell them about the voicemails from his lawyers, the increasingly panicked emails from his board, the text from his VP that simply said, "What the hell is happening?" He didn't tell them about Novacorp's stock dropping 3 points because of rumors about his absence. He didn't tell them who he was, because here in this cramped apartment with broken heating and paper ornaments, he was just Ethan. And just Ethan was the happiest he'd been in 20 years. On New Year's Eve, Sarah had the night off. They made dinner together spaghetti because Lily insisted it was fancy and Ethan didn't argue. They ate at the tiny kitchen table knees, bumping laughing at Lily's impression of her kindergarten teacher. "She talks like this," Lily said in a nasally voice, "and she always says people when we're being too loud." "Maybe you should try being less loud," Sarah suggested. "But why?" Lily asked, genuinely confused. After dinner, they watched the New Year's countdown on TV. Lily made it until 11:30 before crashing hard asleep with her head on Ethan's lap. "She's out," Sarah whispered. "Should I move?" "Don't you dare. She's comfortable." They sat in the dim light, watching the TV on mute, the city celebrating outside the window. "Can I ask you something?" Sarah said quietly. "Anything. Why don't you ever talk about your life, your job, your family, where you actually live? You just show up here every day like you have nowhere else to be." Ethan's heart hammered. "Would it change things if you knew?" "I don't know," Sarah said honestly. "Maybe, but I'd like to know anyway." He could tell her. "Right now, I'm Ethan Cole, CEO of NovaCorp, worth $5 billion, and I've been lying to you this whole time." But Lily stirred in her sleep, making a small sound, and Ethan couldn't do it, couldn't risk shattering this perfect fragile thing they'd built. "I work in tech," he said, which was true. "And I don't have family, which you already know. And I live," he gestured vaguely north, "uptown." "Yeah, uptown." Sarah studied his face. She knew he was holding back. He could see it in her eyes, but she let it go. "Okay," she said. "But Ethan, whatever you're running from, you can't hide forever." "I'm not hiding," he said. "I'm right here." "Are you, though?" The question hung in the air between them. Before Ethan could answer, the TV erupted with the countdown. 10, 9, 8. "We should wake her," Sarah said. 7, 6, 5. "Lily, baby, wake up. It's almost midnight." 4, 3, 2. Lily opened her eyes, groggy and confused. "Is it New Year's 1? Happy New Year," they all said together, and outside the city exploded with fireworks. Lily hugged them both. Sarah's hand found Ethan's across the couch cushions. Their fingers intertwined, and Ethan felt something shift in his chest, a crack in the walls he'd spent 20 years building. He was falling for her, for both of them, for this life that wasn't his but felt more real than anything he'd ever had, and he had no idea how to tell her the truth without losing it all. 2 days into the new year, Ethan made the worst decision of his life. He'd gone home to shower and change. His penthouse was starting to feel like a hotel room, a place he visited between real life when he saw the stack of legal documents his assistant had couriered over. Medical bills, all of Sarah's medical bills from her husband's cancer treatment. Marcus had included a note. "Ran a background check per your request. Subject Sarah Mitchell, 32 RN at Mount Sinai, widowed, one dependent. Outstanding debt, $87,450 in medical bills currently in collections. Facing eviction proceedings. Thought you should know." Ethan stared at the number. $87,000. That was nothing to him. Less than what he spent on wine in a year. He could make this disappear with a single phone call. He could save her. His assistant had also compiled a wish list of sorts, everything Lily had ever mentioned, wanting everything the apartment needed. A new heating system, furniture, clothes, toys, education funds, a trust that would ensure Lily could go to any college she wanted. Ethan could give them everything. So he did. He made calls, pulled strings. By noon, he'd paid off every bill, set up a trust fund for Lily's education, and arranged for complete renovation of the apartment. He'd contacted the building owner and bought the entire building, just to ensure they'd never face eviction. Then he went shopping. Designer clothes for Sarah's sizes, estimated but close enough. An entire toy store's worth of gifts for Lily. A new laptop, a new phone, kitchen appliances that actually worked. Everything they could possibly need. He had it all delivered to their apartment at 4 p.m. Ethan showed up at 5 p.m. with flowers and a smile, ready to see their faces light up with joy and gratitude. Sarah opened the door, and Ethan's smile died. She was furious. "What the hell did you do?" she said, her voice shaking. "I helped," Ethan said, confused. "I wanted to—" "You wanted to what? Buy us?" Sarah's eyes were blazing. "The bank called me at work, said my debts were paid off. Then the building manager called, said I didn't need to worry about rent anymore. Then this," she gestured at the apartment behind her, stuffed with boxes and bags. "All of this showed up." "Sarah, let me explain." "Explain what? That you went behind my back and decided we were your charity case." "It's not like that. Then what is it like? Sarah crossed her arms. Because from where I'm standing, some guy I've known for a week just threw money at all my problems without even asking if I wanted his help. I was trying to help. I didn't ask for help. I invited you to share cookies and watch movies, not to She pressed her hands to her face. Who are you really? This was it, the moment of truth. Ethan Cole, he said quietly, CEO of Novacorp. Sarah's face went blank. The tech company. Yes. The billionaire. Yes. She laughed, but it wasn't a happy sound. Oh my God, you've been lying to me this whole time. I didn't lie, You let me pay for your coffee. You watched me count quarters to buy Lily's Christmas presents. You sat in my apartment with broken heating and didn't say a word about being able to fix it all with pocket change. Her voice was rising. Were you laughing at us? Was this funny to you? No, Sarah. No, it wasn't like that at all. Then what was it like? She was crying now, angry tears streaming down her face. Because I told you things, Ethan. I told you about Marcus, about the bills, about struggling. And you just sat there. And what? Took notes for your charity project? I fell in love with you. The words exploded out of Ethan. Both of you. That's what happened. I walked into that diner wanting to disappear, and you saved me. You and Lily gave me something I didn't even know I was missing. And yes, I should have told you who I was, but I was terrified that if you knew, everything would change. Everything has changed, Sarah shot back. You changed it. You think you can throw money at people and fix them like they're one of your broken companies. We're not a merger, Ethan. We're human beings with dignity and pride, and you just... She couldn't finish. She was sobbing now, and Ethan wanted to reach for her, but the look on her face stopped him cold. Where's Lily? He asked. At her friend's house for a sleepover. Thank God, she doesn't need to see this. Sarah, please, let me fix this. You can't fix this, Sarah screamed. Don't you understand? I didn't need you to save me. I needed you to see me, to respect me enough to ask before you decided what was best for my life. I do respect you. No, you don't. If you respected me, you would have told me the truth. You would have treated me like an equal instead of some poor person who needed rescuing. She wiped her eyes, straightened her spine. I want you to take it all back. The money, the gifts, everything. I can't take back the medical debt. Then donate it. Give it to someone else. I don't care. But I won't accept it. Not like this. She started gathering the shopping bags, shoving them toward him. And I want you to leave. Sarah, leave. Her voice cracked. Just leave, Ethan. Go back to your penthouse and your billion-dollar company and your perfect controlled life. We don't fit in it anyway. You're wrong, Ethan said desperately. You're everything. You and Lily are the only real things in my life. We're not things, Sarah shouted. We're people, and you can't buy people no matter how rich you are. She pushed the bags into his arms and shut the door in his face. Ethan stood in the hallway, surrounded by bags full of gifts that suddenly felt like evidence of his own stupidity, and realized he'd destroyed the best thing that had ever happened to him. He'd tried to save them with money, but all they'd ever needed was for him to be honest. He sank down onto the floor back against the wall and finally understood what Lily had been trying to tell him with sparkles. You couldn't buy magic. You couldn't purchase belonging. You could only show up honestly and completely and hope someone chose to let you in. And he'd blown it. Ethan spent the night in the hallway. He sent the delivery trucks away, called his assistant to cancel all the arrangements, and just sat there, hoping Sarah would open the door, hoping she'd give him a chance to explain properly. At 6 a.m., the door opened. Sarah stood there in her bathrobe looking exhausted. You're still here, she said flatly. I'm still here. Ethan's voice was hoarse. He hadn't moved in 13 hours. That's really stupid. Probably. Sarah sighed and stepped aside. Come in. You look terrible. Ethan stood on shaky legs and followed her inside. The apartment looked the same. No designer furniture. No new appliances. She'd refused it all. I'm sorry, he said immediately. I'm so sorry, Sarah. You were right about everything. I was trying to control the situation instead of respecting you. I treated you like a problem to solve instead of a person. Yeah, Sarah said. You did. I don't know how to do this, Ethan admitted. Any of this. Normal relationships, normal life. I've spent 20 years building walls, and I don't know how to take them down without everything collapsing. Sarah poured 2 cups of coffee and handed him one. They sat at the small kitchen table, the same one where they'd eaten spaghetti, and laughed. I need you to understand something, Sarah said carefully. I've been taking care of myself and Lily since Marcus died. Every bill I paid, every shift I worked, every time I figured out how to make it work. That was me being strong. That was me surviving. When you swooped in and paid everything off without asking, you took that away from me. I wasn't trying to. I know. You weren't trying to hurt me. But impact matters more than intent, Ethan. Your money doesn't make my struggles disappear. It just makes them invisible. And that makes me feel invisible too. Ethan set down his coffee cup. You're right. I was thinking about how good it would feel to help, not about how it would feel to receive help you didn't ask for. That was selfish. It was, Sarah agreed. But I also understand why you did it. You've been alone for so long that you've forgotten how relationships work. They're not transactions. Teach me, Ethan said. Please. I'll get it wrong 100 more times probably, but I want to learn. I want to do better. Sarah studied his face for a long moment. Okay, but we start over. Clean slate. No secrets. No secrets, Ethan agreed. I'm Ethan Cole. I'm 35 years old. I run a tech company worth billions. I lost my parents when I was 15 and spent the next 20 years trying to fill a hole that money can't fill. I met you in a diner when I was at my lowest, and you saved me without even trying, and I'm falling in love with you even though I have no idea what I'm doing. Sarah's eyes went wide. Ethan, you don't have to say anything back, he said quickly. I just wanted you to know. Full honesty. I'm Sarah Mitchell, she said after a moment. I'm 32 years old. I'm a nurse. I lost my husband 3 years ago, and I'm still figuring out how to be whole again. I have a daughter who's the center of my universe, and my biggest fear is failing her, and I think I might be falling for you too, which terrifies me. Why? Because Lily's already attached to you. She calls you my friend Ethan and includes you in every story. If this doesn't work out, Sarah's voice wavered. She's already lost one father figure. I can't let her lose another. Ethan reached across the table and took her hand. Then I won't leave. No matter how hard it gets, no matter how many mistakes I make, I'm here. That's a big promise. I know. They sat in silence, hands linked the morning light filtering through the thin curtains. It wasn't fixed. They weren't magically healed, but it was a start. So what now? Sarah asked. Now I go to my actual job for the first time in 2 weeks, Ethan said wryly, and probably get yelled at by several very expensive lawyers. And tonight, if you'll let me, I'll come back. I'll help Lily with her homework. I'll try not to burn dinner. I'll be just Ethan. Just Ethan works for me, Sarah said softly. When Lily came home from her sleepover, she launched herself at Ethan with her usual enthusiasm. You're here. Emma's mom said she saw you on the news and you're super famous and rich. Is that true? Ethan glanced at Sarah, who nodded permission. It's true, he said. I should have told you before. I'm sorry. Lily considered this. Are you still going to help me learn to ride a bike? Of course. Then who cares if you're famous? She shrugged and ran off to her room. Sarah smiled. See, kids have their priorities straight. For the next few weeks, they found a rhythm. Ethan went to Novacorp during the day, dealing with the fallout from his absence. His board was furious. Dubai had pulled out of the merger. Competitors smelled blood in the water. But every evening, he went to Sarah's apartment. He learned to braid hair badly. He attended a parent-teacher conference as Lily's friend Ethan and beamed with pride when her teacher said she was reading above grade level. He and Sarah went on actual dates, dinner at normal restaurants, walks in the park, a movie where they shared popcorn, and he didn't even think about the stock price ticker. He was happy, genuinely, completely happy. Then the crisis hit. Ethan was at Sarah's apartment helping Lily build a Lego castle when his phone rang. Marcus. He almost didn't answer. Sir, we have a situation. Victor Ashford is making a hostile takeover bid. Ethan's blood ran cold. Victor Ashford, his biggest competitor, a man who'd been trying to destroy Novacorp for 5 years. How hostile? He's offering premium shares to all major stockholders. He's got financing lined up. And he's spreading rumors about your competence using your absence as proof you're unfit to lead. When's the board meeting? Tomorrow, 9 a.m. If you're not there, they might vote you out as CEO. Ethan looked at Lily carefully, placing a purple brick on her castle tower, at Sarah reading on the couch, her feet tucked under her. I'll be there, he said. He hung up, and Sarah looked at him. Trouble. Someone's trying to take my company. Can they? If I don't fight back. Ethan ran his hand through his hair. It's going to be intense for a while. Late nights, early mornings, a lot of stress. Sarah set down her book. Okay, we can handle that. But they couldn't. Over the next month, Ethan was drowning. Ashford wasn't just coming after Novacorp, he was trying to dismantle everything Ethan had built. Every day brought new attacks, new crises, new fires to put out. Ethan started missing dinners. Then he started missing evenings entirely. He'd text Sarah at 11 p.m., "Sorry, still at office, tomorrow, I promise." He missed Lily's ballet recital. He'd been in emergency meetings with lawyers trying to block Ashford's latest move. "It's okay," Lily had said on the phone, but her voice was small. Mom recorded it. It wasn't okay. He missed Sarah's birthday. Forgot it entirely until Marcus mentioned it in passing. "Shit," Ethan had said, reaching for his phone. "Maybe flowers," Marcus suggested. "Flowers aren't enough." "Better than nothing, sir." But when the flowers arrived, $200 worth of roses, Sarah called him. "This isn't what I wanted," she said quietly. "I know I'm sorry there was an emergency." There's always an emergency, Ethan. That's the problem. He'd promised to do better. He hadn't. The final straw came 6 weeks into the battle with Ashford. Lily was performing in her school play, The Wizard of Oz. She was Dorothy. She'd been practicing her lines for months, and she'd made Ethan promise, pinky swear promise, that he'd be in the front row. "You have to see me click my heels together," she'd said. "It's the best part. I'll be there," Ethan had sworn. "Front row center seat, I promise." The play was at 7 p.m. on a Thursday. At 4 p.m. that Thursday, Ethan got a call from his lead investor in Dubai. "Mr. Cole, we need you here. Tomorrow morning. We're ready to discuss the partnership again, but only if you're serious. Only if you're committed." "I can't tomorrow." "Then we're going with Ashford. He's offering us better terms and better leadership. No offense, but you've been distracted lately. We need someone focused." This was it, the deal that would save Novacorp. $1 billion, the partnership that would crush Ashford's takeover attempt, or Lily's play. Ethan stood in his office looking at his calendar. Lily's play circled in red. Front row, written in all caps, his company or his promise, his empire or a 6-year-old girl clicking her heels together. He made the wrong choice. "I'll be on a plane in 2 hours, Ethan said. He called Sarah from the car to the airport. She didn't answer. He left a voicemail. "Sarah, I'm so sorry. There's an emergency in Dubai. It's the deal that could save everything. I have to go. Please tell Lily, tell her I'm sorry. I'll make it up to her, I swear." He hung up and stared at his phone. Then he turned it off. The Dubai meeting was successful. The investors signed. $1 billion secured. Novacorp saved. Ethan sat in his 5-star hotel room afterwards, surrounded by luxury, and felt nothing but emptiness. His phone was still off. He didn't want to see the messages, didn't want to know how badly he'd failed. But at 2 a.m., unable to sleep, he turned it on. 17 missed calls from Sarah, 34 text messages, and 1 video attachment. He clicked the video. It was the play, filmed from the audience. The camera found Lily on stage, dressed as Dorothy, her hair in braids, clicking together silver shoes. The camera panned to the front row, to the seat Ethan had promised to fill, empty. Lily's eyes found that seat, searched it. Her smile faltered just for a second. Then she kept performing mechanical and perfect, saying her lines like a robot. The video cut to backstage afterward. Lily was crying still in her costume mascara running. "He promised," she sobbed. "He pinky promised Mom." "I know, baby. Did I do something wrong? Is that why he didn't come?" "No, sweetheart, you were perfect." "Then why?" Lily's voice broke. "Why did he lie?" The video ended. Ethan sat in his hotel room and felt his world collapse. He'd saved his company. He'd lost his soul. He'd made the same choice his parents had made 20 years ago, put the business first, put everything else second. And he'd broken a 6-year-old girl's heart. Ethan booked the first flight back to New York. He didn't sleep. He didn't eat. He just stared out the window at the clouds and realized that he'd become exactly what he'd feared. Alone. Successful. Empty. A billionaire with nothing that mattered. The plane touched down at JFK at 6 a.m. Ethan didn't go home, didn't go to the office. He went straight to Sarah's apartment. He knocked on the door. No answer. He knocked again. "Sarah, please. I know you're angry." The door opened, but not all the way. Sarah stood in the gap and her face was stone. "You need to leave," she said. "Let me explain." "There's nothing to explain, Ethan. You made your choice. You chose your company over my daughter." "It wasn't like that." "Then what was it like?" Sarah's voice was dangerously calm. Because from where I'm standing, you promised a 6-year-old girl you'd be there for the most important night of her life, and you got on a plane instead. The investors said, I don't care what the investors said. Sarah's composure cracked. You know what Lily said when we got home? She said, maybe I'm not important enough. That's what you taught her, Ethan. That she's not important enough. The words hit him like physical blows. Where is she? Ethan asked. Let me talk to her. No. Sarah's voice was flat. You don't get to talk to her. You don't get to explain or apologize or make promises you won't keep. You're done. Sarah, please. My daughter has already lost one father. I won't let her lose another one piece by piece every time you choose work over her. So I'm choosing for all of us. You need to go back to your life, and we'll go back to ours. You are my life, Ethan shouted. You and Lily. Everything else is it's just noise and numbers and nothing that matters. Then why weren't you there? Sarah asked simply. Ethan had no answer. No good one anyway. That's what I thought. Sarah started to close the door. Wait. Ethan put his hand on the door. What if I quit? Sarah stopped. What? What if I quit, stepped down as CEO, made Novacorp someone else's problem? The idea was forming even as he spoke, and it felt right. It felt like the only right thing. What if I choose you, both of you, for real this time? Ethan, you can't just... Why not? He was warming to the idea now, seeing it clearly. I built that company to feel safe, to feel in control, but I'm not safe. I'm miserable. The only time I've felt alive in 20 years was eating burnt pancakes in your kitchen. You'd lose everything. I'd lose nothing that matters. Ethan was practically shouting now. I have $5 billion, Sarah. I could lose 90% of it and still never need to work another day. But I can't lose you. I can't lose Lily. I already know what that feels like, and I can't survive it again. Sarah's eyes were shining with tears. You can't make this decision based on us. You'll regret it. The only thing I regret is getting on that plane. Ethan pulled out his phone. Right there in the hallway, he called his VP. Get me the board. Emergency meeting. Today. Sir, we're still in negotiations. Cancel them. I'm resigning as CEO. Silence on the other end. Then, you're what? Effective immediately. Promote Jennifer to CEO. She's been running things anyway. I'll stay on as an advisor, minimal hours, but I'm done with the day-to-day. Sir, with all due respect, have you lost your mind? No. Ethan said, looking at Sarah. I just found it. He hung up and turned back to Sarah. I'm not asking you to take me back. I know I broke your trust. I broke Lily's trust. But I'm asking you to let me prove that I can be the person you both deserve. Ethan, I'm going to be here every day. I'm going to fix every faucet, attend every play, learn to braid hair properly. I'm going to show up. Not as a CEO or a billionaire, just as Ethan, the guy who can't make pancakes and needs a 6-year-old to teach him about marshmallow protocol. Sarah was crying now. She won't even come out of her room. She's devastated. Then let me talk to her. Please. I need to apologize. I need her to know that I failed her, not the other way around. Sarah hesitated. Then slowly she opened the door wider. Lily's room was at the end of the short hallway. The door was covered in crayon drawings and stickers. Ethan knocked softly. Go away, came a small voice. Lily, it's Ethan. I know. Go away. I can't do that, kiddo. I need to apologize. I don't want your apology. Ethan sat down on the floor back against the door. Okay, then I'll just talk and you can listen. Or not listen. Whatever you want. Silence from inside the room. I messed up, Ethan said to the door. I promised I'd be at your play, and I wasn't. I got scared about work stuff, and I made a choice that hurt you. And I'm so sorry. No response. You know what your mom told me once. She said that impact matters more than intent. That means it doesn't matter that I didn't mean to hurt you. I still did, and that's on me. He heard a small sound. Maybe Lily was listening. When I was a kid, my parents missed a lot of my stuff too. They were always busy with work, always had something more important. And you know what that taught me? It taught me that I wasn't worth showing up for. The door opened a crack. Lily's eye appeared in the gap, red from crying. That's how you feel now, isn't it? Ethan asked gently, like maybe you're not important enough. Lily nodded and fresh tears spilled down her cheeks. Well, you're wrong, Ethan said. You are the most important person in the world, you and your mom. And I'm the idiot who forgot that for a minute. You forgot for a whole day, Lily said, her voice wobbling. You forgot me for money. You're right, I did. And that makes me the stupidest person alive. Ethan pulled sparkles out of his jacket pocket. He'd been carrying the unicorn everywhere since Lily gave it to him. But you know what? I'm done being stupid. I quit my job. Lily's eyes went wide. You what? I quit. I told them I'm not the boss anymore because being a boss is boring, but being your friend is the best thing I've ever done. Really? Really? I'm going to be here every day. I'm going to help you with homework and teach you to ride a bike and watch you in every single play from now until you're too embarrassed to have me in the audience. I won't be embarrassed, Lily said, even when you're a teenager. Even then. Lily opened the door fully. She was still in her Dorothy costume like she'd refused to take it off. Do you promise for real this time? For real this time. Ethan held out his pinky. Pinky promise. And if I break it, you can keep Sparkles forever, and I'll eat a whole jar of pickles. You hate pickles, Lily said. Exactly. That's how serious I am. Lily studied his face for a long moment. Then slowly she wrapped her pinky around his. Okay, she said. But you're still in trouble. I know. Big trouble. The biggest. Lily threw her arms around his neck and burst into fresh sobs. I missed you so much. I missed you too, kiddo. Ethan hugged her back, and over her head he saw Sarah in the doorway, tears streaming down her face. I'm sorry, he mouthed to her. Sarah just shook her head, but she was smiling through her tears. They spent the rest of the day together. Ethan watched a recording of the play, all of it start to finish, while Lily provided director's commentary. That's when I almost forgot my line, but I remembered. That's Emma. She's my best friend. She's a munchkin. He saw the moment when Lily looked at his empty seat, saw her face fall, and it broke his heart all over again. You were incredible, he told her when the video ended. A star. You really think so? I know so. And I'm sorry I wasn't there to see it in person. It's okay, Lily said, snuggling into his side. You're here now. Later, after Lily was in bed, Ethan and Sarah sat on the couch. Did you really quit? Sarah asked. I really did. Called the board this afternoon and made it official. Jennifer's taking over as CEO. I'll stay on as strategic advisor, work from home, set my own hours. Ethan, that's a huge decision. It's the right decision, Ethan said firmly. I've spent 20 years building a company. I want to spend the next 20 building a life. Sarah took his hand. You know this doesn't fix everything, right? Trust takes time to rebuild. I know. I'll take however long it takes. And you have to understand Lily comes first, always. If there's ever a choice between her and work. There's no choice, Ethan interrupted. It's her. It'll always be her. Both of you. Sarah studied his face in the dim light. You really mean that? With everything I am. She leaned in and kissed him, soft and tentative and full of possibility. Okay, she whispered against his lips. Let's try again. For real this time. For real this time, Ethan agreed. From down the hall came a loud whisper. Are you guys kissing? That's gross. They broke apart, laughing. Go to sleep, Lily, Sarah called. I am sleeping. I'm sleep-talking. Ethan pulled Sarah close, and for the first time since Dubai, he felt like he could breathe. He'd almost lost everything that mattered, but he'd made it back. And he wasn't going anywhere ever again. 6 months later, Ethan stood in the Copper Kettle, the same dingy diner where everything had started, and tried not to throw up from nerves. You're sweating, Sarah observed. I'm not sweating. This is just strategic moisture. That's disgusting. I'm aware. They were sitting in the same booth where Sarah had paid for his coffee almost a year ago. Lily was at the counter charming Donna into giving her extra whipped cream on her hot chocolate. In Ethan's pocket was a ring, not a diamond. Not some massive, expensive thing that screamed billionaire proposal. Instead, it was a custom design, a simple silver band with a tiny unicorn engraved on it, sparkles immortalized in jewelry. You're really doing this here? Sarah asked. This is where it started, where you saved me with $5 and an invitation to cookies. Ethan took her hand. Seemed fitting. I didn't save you. You saved yourself. No, Ethan said. I was drowning. You threw me a lifeline. You and Lily both. The past 6 months had been the best of his life. He'd kept his promise. He'd shown up every day. He'd learned to braid hair still badly, but Lily said it had personality. He'd attended every parent-teacher conference, every ballet class, every playground hangout. He'd become a fixture in Lily's life, not replacing her father, never that, but becoming something new, something chosen. He and Sarah had moved slowly, carefully rebuilding trust brick by brick. They'd gone on dates. Real dates where Ethan didn't check his phone every 5 minutes. They'd had fights, normal couple fights, about whose turn it was to do dishes and whether pineapple belonged on pizza. They'd figured out how to be partners, and Ethan had started something new. A foundation using his wealth to help families dealing with medical debt. Sarah ran it using her nursing background and her understanding of the healthcare system. They'd helped over 300 families so far, turned Ethan's guilt about his wealth into something that actually mattered. Mom, Lily, bounced back to the booth, whipped cream on her nose. Donna says she remembers when Ethan couldn't pay for coffee and you had to save him. Donna has a big mouth, Ethan muttered. Donna tells the truth. Donna called from behind the counter. And I'm still waiting for my tip from that coffee Mr. Billionaire. Ethan had already left her a $1,000 tip last month, but he didn't argue. He pulled out his wallet and handed Lily a $5 bill. Go give this to Donna. Tell her it's for my tab. This is way more than $3, Lily said. Inflation, Ethan said solemnly. After Lily skipped off, Sarah laughed. You're ridiculous. I'm nervous. About what? This was it. Ethan slid out of the booth and dropped to one knee. Sarah's eyes went huge. Ethan. Sarah Mitchell, he said, pulling out the ring. Almost a year ago, I walked into this diner feeling like I had everything and nothing all at once. You bought me coffee. You invited me into your home. You taught me that the best things in life aren't things at all. They're moments and people and burnt pancakes. Sarah was crying. Happy crying, he hoped. You challenged me. You called me out when I was being an idiot. You made me want to be better, not for my company or my reputation, but for you and Lily. You both gave me a family when I thought I'd be alone forever. Ethan, Sarah whispered. I know I messed up. I know I'll probably mess up again because I'm still learning how to be a normal human. But I promise to keep showing up, to keep trying, to choose you and Lily every single day for the rest of my life. He held up the ring. So will you marry me? Sarah was full on sobbing now. You put sparkles on the ring. Is that a yes? Yes. Yes, you ridiculous man. Of course, yes. The diner erupted in applause. Ethan hadn't realized they had an audience, but apparently everyone in the copper kettle had been watching. Donna was crying. The old man from the corner booth was clapping. Even the teenagers who'd tried to film Ethan's coffee humiliation a year ago were cheering. Ethan slipped the ring onto Sarah's finger and kissed her, and it felt like coming home. I knew it, Lily's voice carried across the entire diner. I told you he was going to marry Mom. Sarah and Ethan broke apart laughing as Lily launched herself at them both. Does this mean you're my dad now? Lily asked Ethan. If you want me to be, Ethan said carefully. I know I'm not your real dad. You're my bonus dad, Lily declared. Like a bonus level in a video game. Extra fun. Bonus dad. Ethan repeated, his voice thick. I like that. Good. Because now you have to come to all my stuff forever and ever. Deal. That night, Ethan took them both home to the new place they'd found together. Not his penthouse, they'd sold that. Sarah said it gave her vertigo, and not Sarah's old apartment, though they'd bought the building and turned it into affordable housing. Instead, they'd found a brownstone in Brooklyn with a backyard where Lily could play, and enough bedrooms for everyone to have their own space. It was chaotic and loud and full of Lily's art projects and Sarah's medical journals and Ethan's failed cooking experiments. It was perfect. 3 years later, on Christmas Eve, Ethan found himself in the kitchen of that brownstone, once again attempting to make pancakes. You're burning them again, Sarah called from the living room. I'm creating a crispy texture. You're creating carbon. Lily, now 9.5, as she constantly reminded everyone, wandered in wearing Christmas pajamas. Dad, you're terrible at this. Dad. She'd started calling him that about 6 months after the wedding. Ethan still got choked up every time. Your mother won't let me use the expensive griddle, Ethan complained, because you broke the last two. Sarah appeared in the doorway, pregnant belly leading the way. 7 months along with twins, a boy and a girl, according to the ultrasound. Ethan still couldn't believe it. He was going to be a father. For real. Biology and everything. I'm going to be so outnumbered, he'd said when they found out. You're already outnumbered, Sarah had replied. Now, watching Sarah waddle to the kitchen table and Lily try to salvage his pancake disaster, Ethan felt a wave of gratitude so intense it almost knocked him over. Hey, Sarah said, noticing his expression. You okay? I'm thinking about how different my life would be if you hadn't paid for that coffee. You'd probably still be alone in your penthouse drinking expensive whiskey and being miserable, Sarah said. Probably, Ethan agreed. Do you miss it? She asked. The power, the control, the billions of dollars. Ethan looked around their kitchen, at the refrigerator covered in Lily's drawings, at the hand-drawn calendar marking ballet recitals and doctor appointments and date nights, at the pancakes burning on the stove. He really was terrible at this. At Sarah, glowing and beautiful and exhausted from growing two humans. At Lily, who'd just discovered the fire extinguisher and was eyeing the stove with concern. Not even a little bit, he said honestly. Liar, Sarah teased. You missed the private jet. Okay, I missed the private jet, Ethan admitted, but only because flying commercial while pregnant looks uncomfortable. It's terrible. Your children are using my bladder as a trampoline. Our children, Ethan corrected, and his heart swelled saying it. Later, after they'd eaten the salvageable pancakes and thrown out the burnt ones, they sat in the living room. The Christmas tree covered in Lily's handmade ornaments, and a few fancy ones they'd collected together twinkled in the corner. Lily was curled up between them, reading a book about wizards. Dad, she said without looking up. Yeah, kiddo. When the twins come, you're still going to have time for me, right? Ethan pulled her close. Always. You're the one who taught me how to be a dad in the first place. I'm counting on you to help me with the twins. I'm going to be the best big sister ever, Lily declared. You already are the best everything, Ethan said. Sarah leaned her head on his shoulder. Remember when you asked me at New Year's if I missed you being CEO? I remember you saying I'd probably regret quitting. I was wrong, Sarah said quietly. This life, our life, it's everything. Ethan kissed the top of her head. It's everything I never knew I needed. Outside, snow started to fall. Inside, the fire crackled. Lily fell asleep on the couch book sliding out of her hands. Sarah dozed off too, breathing softly against Ethan's shoulder. And Ethan stayed awake, holding his family, marveling at how a $5 coffee and a little girl's kindness had saved his life. His phone buzzed. A text from Marcus, now a friend instead of just an assistant. Merry Christmas. Nova Corp stock hit an all-time high today. You sure you don't want to come back? Ethan looked at Sarah's sleeping face. At Lily's hand clutching sparkles, she still slept with the unicorn, now more patched than original. At the twin heartbeats visible on Sarah's belly, he typed back, I'm already exactly where I need to be. Then he turned off his phone, because some things were more valuable than stock prices. Some things couldn't be bought or sold or negotiated. Some things like burnt pancakes and ballet recitals and the trust of a 6-year-old who'd taught a billionaire what magic really meant were priceless. Ethan Cole had spent 20 years building an empire, but he'd spent the last 3 building a home. And there was no comparison. The empire was impressive. But the home was everything.
Join us to share meaningful stories by hitting the like and subscribe buttons. Don't forget to turn on the notification bell to start your day with profound lessons and heartfelt empathy.